Farm Bureau. Our very own Luke Johnson joins us. He's co-host of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour. Closing in on the end of the month of June and toward the 4th of July holiday, Luke is on the road, and we appreciate him spending a few minutes with us this afternoon. Luke, my man, what's up?
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you first time post-baseball, and just enjoying the summer.
Good for you. It is plenty warm here in the Magnolia State, so if warm weather and sunshine is what you want, you've got it. All right, Luke, so let's lay this out. This is what we've done the last couple of days with Ole Miss and with Mississippi State. We've taken the Vegas win total number, and we're trying to decide if a team overachieves, these were the three reasons why. And if they underachieve, these are the three reasons why. And to determine overachieving, we're going a game and a half over the win total. So Southern Miss at 5.5. They go a game and a half over that. That's 7. So 7 wins or more happens why?
I mean, it's going to be a broken record until week 1, but the overachieving will be because of the quarterback play. For a few reasons other than the fact that you feel more that you're better at the position. You know, this is year 3 of Will Hall's offense. He's had playmakers on the roster, but they hadn't been able really to get the ball in their hands, you know, other than they intentionally did super back or if Frank Gore Jr., you know, just showed out like he did in the bowl game. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow the playbook to open up rather than, you know, to limit it at that position. So if they overachieve, it's going to allow it's going to be because you start seeing some of these more playmakers, particularly at the wide receiver position, guys like Chandler Pittman with some flexibility, but Mims and Jones, Caston, even though you lost Brownlee, you got some other guys coming in from JUCO as well. I would say the second reason would be the run game, just because you've got experience at the offensive line. It's Frank Gore Jr.'s senior year. He's the heart and soul of this team. And not only that, on the trenches on the other side with Bivens and some of the other guys, even though you lost Quiwan, you've got some studs. Thomas coming in from Arkansas. And I think if they overachieve, it's going to be because they're able to establish the run game and for really the second year in a row, get a lot of pressure up front. The third just would be because of Will Hall. I mean, you look at what he did last year. I was talking to some guys today about this. It's pretty remarkable that they got 7 wins last year with just the turnover at the position and still trying to rebuild a roster. So the very fact, even this last 2 weeks, man, what they've been doing on the recruiting trail, you know, they've been on fire on the recruiting trail. And I think it just goes back to guys believing in him and the third year of having that type of culture in a locker room will cause guys to believe that they can actually win more than they can lose when they go out.
You know, I feel like in a lot of ways those three things are kind of interconnected. If we go back to the quarterback thing to start, there are a couple of pieces in play, right? One is health, because for the last 2 years, the quarterback position has been one where you could not keep guys healthy, whether it was, you know, freak injuries or recurrent injuries or whatever. You got to stay healthy at that spot to get that play that you're talking about. But the second part of that to me is, and I remember when Will Hall was hired, and the very first time he was on the radio with us, he talked about his offense goes based on the play of his quarterback, period. And he had good ones in the past. He had a good one at Tulane immediately before he came to Southern Miss, and they haven't gotten that consistency at the quarterback position.
They haven't. And, you know, when Tulane came in and blew Southern Miss out, you know, I think Southern Miss fans need to go back and remember those 66 points that got put up on them in the Rock. That's what an offense is capable of. That's what a Will Hall offense is capable of. But they just, you know, in some games, and you could say even, you know, last year they were playing maybe with an arm tied behind their back in some situations, or at least half an arm tied behind their back. And so now, you know, with whether it's Edwards or Wiles, he hinted earlier this week, he told Bob and Kelly this on the Eagle Hour, that he kind of wants that starter named 2 weeks before the opening game against Alcorn. They're not going to play it close, like up to the last point. Now, you know, he said don't hold him exactly to that, but he understands that they've got to go into the season knowing who the leader is.
And then the second thing you talked about in the running game, I mean, it's like, do you run to set up the pass or pass to set up the run? It's like those two things are going to be complementary, right? Frank Gore Jr. being good should help the quarterback, but a quarterback being good should, in theory, help Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes the predictability out of what they've had to do. You were just limited out of the playbook, and so I think Southern Miss fans will look up today or look up sometime this year and be like, I didn't know we could do that. And it's been in the playbook the whole time. You just haven't had the ability to be able to execute it or put it out on the field.
All right, so opposite end of the spectrum. And I said a second ago when we were kind of setting this up, I mean, the underachieve based on that 5.5 line set by Vegas for win total, we're talking about 4 or fewer wins. First of all, that would be incredibly disappointing on the heels of a 7-win season in year 2 in the Sun Belt. I don't think any of us think that is likely. But if this thing were to just go off the rails and Southern Miss were to have a 4 or fewer win season, why did it happen?
So I'm not cheating. I'm just saying it's going to be because of the quarterback play. End of story.
You've already said that.
No, I know that.
I know.
You get it. I'll move on. The second is the loss of Austin Armstrong. Dan O'Brien, nobody doubts, what he can do. I mean, he's been under Belichick, he's been under Saban, he's been under Smart, he's been at Navy. It's the same defense. I mean, it comes from the same tree. But, the fact of him calling plays every down, I think there's not going to be a let-off. But, I mean, that is an unknown when you lose a really, really good defensive coordinator. With that said, the secondary, they lost Brooks. They lost Scott to the Cowboys. They lost Malik Shorts. They got to replace three of those guys. They've had some guys out of spring that really stepped up. Michael Caraway, of course, MJ Daniels, the Ole Miss transfer. Brendan Tolles, Quez McNeil out of Colin. Of course, Jay Stanley's back. But that's some questions, especially early on when you're facing really good quarterbacks in Pratt at Tulane and with Florida State. And, down the stretch, what's Texas State going to do with Finley at quarterback to transfer in? So the secondary, as kind of a microcosm of the defense, what's that going to be like? And then it's the schedule. I mean, typically, it's first time since 19 Southern Miss has had 2 Power 5 teams on the schedule, which is, we were accustomed to always having, 2 or 3 on there. But then you look at, your group of 5 opponent, and they won the Cotton Bowl last year. So the actual schedule, just to break it down, 56% winning percentage last year. The road schedule is pretty tough. You've got 4 out of the first 6 at home, and you got 4 out of the last 6 on the road. You could be 4-2 if you beat Tulane through the first 6. You could get to 5-1. But then you go to South Alabama, to Appalachian State, and then you got Lafayette, and then you go to Starkville. And then probably your hardest conference game is Troy to close the season. The second half of this schedule is brutal. And, things can kind of snowball. And unless they get a couple road wins, the losses could add up, and that would be why they would underachieve.
Are you going to make any road trips this year?
We're planning to go to Boone. It's the last Saturday in October. We're looking excited, really excited to go up there with the leaves turning and just kind of embrace that game day atmosphere.
I am glad to hear that. We were talking about Southern Miss's schedule a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, if you're a Southern Miss fan and you're making a road trip and you're only going to make one, then that's the one to do. Go to Boone, North Carolina at the end of October for that game against Appalachian State. That could be really cool.
Yeah, I never got to go there, obviously, and have never been there. We've got some friends that are kind of telling us what game day is going to be like, and would love to go to Tallahassee. Just don't know if I can pull it off yet. Doug Campbell is really cool, and then of course we're going to be in Starkville, I'll probably make some little friendly wager with Haydad or something.
Haydad's always up for a wager.
Are you allowed to wager? You're a man of the cloth. I don't know if you can do that.
I mean, like I'll buy you a hamburger or something. I mean, Jason Crowder's supposed to feed me pretty good pregame, but I'll do something for you.
You just put me something down at Ed's to pick up next time I'm in Hattiesburg.
Oh, so you're go ahead and guaranteeing a win. I see how it is.
Yes.
Wow. Shots fired. Shots fired. There we go. Hey, Luke, hope you and your family have a great 4th of July next week. Always good to catch up, and we'll